We've made it from coast to coast, and in the process, we've driven a nice variety of sports cars. But none of them have been front-wheel drive. For the last several decades, Honda and Acura have been proving that you can not only have fun when driving the forbidden wheels, you can be fast. And now it appears that Acura has built the ultimate example of front drive prowess. So I want to test one, and I want to see if its balance of performance and livability is really worth $53,000. Huh?
The Hyundai Elantra N, it's here.
What's that?
You know, the Elantra like 300 horsepower, adaptive dampening bucket seats, and a wang.
A wang?
Well, a small one.
That's perfectly average. Honestly, maybe a little bit bigger than I was thinking. And it looks pretty cool, but how does it drive? So, what are the details? Oh, thanks. Wait, who are you? This is one of the most mad products that Hyundai has ever made, and probably because former BMW folks led the way. So you'll have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that snarls and burbles as you bring it out. And you can connect that to a quick shifting 8-speed dual clutch transmission with good brains, or a 6-speed manual. That's okay. There's kind of a mushy clutch and a shifter that feels like it's part of a simulator, but I appreciate the extra level of engagement. And for 2024, it's been enhanced with tweaks to the steering, the suspension, and the engine mounts to reduce but not completely eliminate wheel hop. In the real world, drive it like you just stole it after watching a TikTok video, and you can get it to 60 in 5.5 seconds. Some outlets have even gotten that below 5 seconds with the DCT. While a conservative 276 horsepower is nice, it's the sharp handling that you'll appreciate more on the track or an autocross course. With the adaptive dampening in its stiffest setting, you can absolutely rip around corners. There's like hardly any body roll, even as you get it up to higher speeds. It's well under control. This helps it turn in quick. It eagerly awaits your move. The quick steering is nice, but there's not a whole lot of feedback, even if I think it's weighted well. But I can forgive it because this still wipes the floor with the VW GTI and Subaru WRX when it comes to outright performance. And it won't cost you more money. It's $35,000 with a 6-speed. So it's a track day bargain, but do you really want to drive it every day? Yeah, place the dampening into comfort and it becomes reasonably forgiving. The interior doesn't achieve Honda quality, and the infotainment isn't even the best that Hyundai has to offer, but it features physical controls, comfortable yet aggressive seats that light up, and a fresh layout with blue stitching. The cabin isn't as boring as most Subi or Toyota performance cars, plus I have decent space behind myself at 6'3", and the trunk is large for a sedan, so long as you don't haul too many long items. There's also an overwhelming amount of different settings you can play with, so it's hard to get bored as you tailor the transmission, differential steering, engine, and whatnot to your preferences. Hyundai's latest round of N cars proves that the brand is taking attainable performance seriously. If you're looking for the quickest lap time under 40 grand, this is arguably the best, but if you also need something to commute with and haul around car seats, the Elantra N becomes even more compelling. But it's not the car I'd replace the GR Corolla with. As much as I like the handling, the grip in the seats, as much as I appreciate the ride quality, and as much as I think this is childish in the right ways, this isn't quite the best enthusiast car. The Elantra N is seasoned well, but I don't think it's well seasoned enough. Sleep paralysis demon, can you chime in? I'm kind of at a loss.
Yeah, no worries. What I think you're trying to say is that the Elantra N is a powerful, capable car that's fun to drive, but more so in a boyish sense. It's obnoxious, it's quick, and it can change direction like a mobile home in a tornado. There's a lot going on and a lot to like, but it's missing that last 10% of driver engagement and fine-tuning that would make it as much of a fantastic driver's car as it is an entertaining daily.
Wow, that was insightful. Thank you.
Don't sweat it, bro.
You still driving the Type S?
Yeah.
Cool. What's your step this time? And change your shirt.
Why? The Elantra N is a masterclass in providing performance and comfort without sacrificing value. However, the Acura Integra Type S follows a similar formula without the price point constraint. So we have two questions to answer. Is it worth stretching your budget when you get most of the speed with a car like the Hyundai? And is it a justifiable jump over the Civic Type R? The Integra Type S is the top dog of front-wheel drive, and this one in particular is even topper dog. It's been tailored through a list of modifications to achieve maximum capability within reason on the track. We don't really have any power mods or anything, but this is riding on different suspension, tires, upgraded brake pads and fluid, different alignment, just several tweaks to improve the handling, along with a short throw shifter, which makes the already awesome Honda shifter that much better. But let's get back to the core of the Type S. Underneath, this shares the powertrain with the Type R. The power band is very flat. It's got great mid-range torque. It pulls up to the red line, but it doesn't feel like you need to be near that in order to be making some serious power. Turbocharged version of Honda's venerable K20 engine. Standard with every single one is a 6-speed manual transmission, and while I think this is the way this car should come, it would be nice for the luxury variant of the Type R to at least offer something like a dual clutch. As I said, this does have a short throw shifter on it, but outside of that, it has a precision that the GR Corolla just can't match. It feels more mechanically satisfying. It's like each shift shuts off power to a medium-sized factory, but it's still smooth and easy. After driving a stock Type R, I can assure you that the satisfaction this Honda gearbox provides is second only to a certain pesky Mazda. Perfect weighting, perfect entry into each gate. The clutch is maybe a little bit touchy. I don't think city driving this is ideal for me, but once you get used to it, it feels like an old school Honda. You can really shift fast, as fast as you want. With how this pulls up to redline, the power band, the acceleration, it's all effective, it's efficient. But it's not as fun to wind out as I was maybe hoping. It's just an awesome experience when it comes to shifting and handling. The steering especially, it's precise, really well weighted. If you put it into its Sport Plus mode, it does add some heft. I might honestly prefer it in its normal mode, but either way you go, it builds up nice and naturally, and it comes with a surgical precision. And something that was a little bit hard for me to get around was that this is front-wheel drive only, even when the price climbs past $50,000. It does come with a limited slip differential, and honestly, I rode alongside the owner of this one, Fenton of Zygrene, and it is immensely capable, even with it just driving those front wheels. It fights understeer with ease, lift off the throttle or tap the brakes, and the rear end helps rotate the car like a proper hot hatch. It's stable, yet playful. Oh my gosh! Oh man, you can carry some speed. And once you're driving it home from the track, even with modifications done to it, this is still pretty smooth. To my ears, with these tires and the exhaust, it's hard for me to decipher exactly how quiet it is, but cruising up at 65 miles per hour, wind noise is muffled pretty well. It's a notch more quiet than what I'm used to with the GR Corolla, and it better be for the money, because let's face it, this is $7,000, $6,000 more than a Type R, and most of its justification for that comes from its grand touring capabilities, like the quieter ride and more forgiving suspension, but it also promises a nicer interior. the bones still feel undeniably Civic, and that's a good thing. You have tactile controls for the HVAC, clicky plastic buttons on your steering wheel, and the little honeycomb design, but it's more subtle. And compared to virtually any other sport compact, the materials are just a step above. The panel fitment and build quality are also strong relative to the category, but if we're comparing it to more traditional luxury cars, I still find this to come a little short, including with the seats. I think they're shaped well for more regular usage, but the bottom cushion feels a little firm and the bolstering isn't quite enough for regular track usage, so it's really not the best of either world. However, at least you have more than enough space. At 6'3", I think the driving position is great, and I can still fit behind myself in the back seat, which unfortunately, due to the low payload capacity of this car, is narrowed down to just 2 rear occupants. But fold those down and you have an undeniably impressive cargo space, making this the most versatile car I've tested for the series so far. And now we're joined by Fenton of Zygrene.
What's up, guys?
We're gonna get a little bit more of the ownership impressions. So first, that ELS Studio 3D. Compared to the Bose sound system that you would get in the Civic Type R, or just like a lot of the sport compacts that you've tested, what are your thoughts?
I mean, out of all the sport compacts like hatches under $50,000, $60,000 that I've tested, this is probably the best. I spent a few days with a stock Civic Type R, and I did get to use the Bose a few times. And the difference between the ELS Studio 3D versus the Bose is not as big as I originally thought, because they market the hell out of this ELS Studio system, and no doubt it does sound better, and it has more bass, but compared to, let's say, the ELS 3D in the TLX Type S, this is not even close. And mostly it's because the bass kind of has this muddiness to it. I wouldn't personally pay the extra for this car over a Civic Type R at MSRP, that's the assumption I'm making, for the sound system alone.
Do you feel like the rest of this kind of warrants the price jump?
I think it does. I think if you're someone who likes not necessarily more comfort, because the two cars drive virtually identically, but if you like a little bit more, nicer materials, nicer touch points, we have the leather here, right? So my seats are in orchid, therefore the leather all around the interior it matches. Versus the Civic Type R, you get the really nice red semi buckets, but everywhere else where this car has leather, the Civic Type R just has black cloth or like a fake Alcantara type thing.
I guess that leads me to another question. If you're thinking Type R or Type S, which one would you choose and why?
I've discussed this in some of my own videos, recent videos actually. If I could go back in time before I bought my Type S at MSRP, if I could have gotten a Type R at MSRP, I would do that. Because like I said, they are virtually identical. The Type S is rated 5 horsepower higher than the Type R, same torque, although folks who have actually dynoed both cars found that the Type S makes about 15 to 20 pound-feet more torque in the mid-range. That's the primary difference. Outside of that, and outside of the difference in the electronic damper tuning for the suspension, which in the Type R feels way over-damped in Plus R mode, and sometimes even in comfort mode if you start driving the car hard, it automatically adjusts the damping profile to be more aggressive. I hate that. I want the mode to stay what I select it to. But that's only a $200 to $300 fix. You just buy the Type S active damper module or the ADS module, you plug it into the Type R, and your Type R will ride exactly the same as a Type S. It'll just be down a little bit on torque.
Yeah, because you were saying the springs and dampening themselves, the hardware is the same.
Hardware is identical. It's just the damper module that's different. So Type R versus Type S, given the MSRP difference is roughly $7,000, unless you really want the extra creature comforts, the power adjustable driver's seat, you get the ELS 3D, which is a slight upgrade over the Bose. We get the nicer materials. We get heated seats, perforated leather on the steering wheel versus just this kind of smooth leather on the Type R.
Is it a heated wheel?
No, it's not heated, but all the driver aids are the same. You get the lane keep assist, the adaptive cruise control, like everything's the same. It's really just the small nuances. If you want the slightly more premium feeling interior, and of course, like the actual looks of the car, which I much prefer how the Type S looks over the Type R. I like the Type R, but it's just a little bit too understated for me. Like the fender flares on the Type R are kind of just molded, versus this one, it looks a little bit more like tack-on fenders. And it just makes it, I don't know, look a little bit more hot hatchy versus the Type R. But if your priority is driving dynamics, they're the same car. Whichever one you can get cheaper is probably what I would recommend.
And I mean, stepping away from just the Type R talk, what have you appreciated most? Is it the handling or some other component of it?
I mean, it's for a front-wheel drive car, it is very, very well balanced, and the handling is probably the best I've experienced in any modern front-wheel drive car. I say modern because you can make an argument that a DC2 Integra Type R handles better than this, because it's double wishbone, it's 600 pounds lighter and whatnot. But if you're looking for a car that can do really good lap times and drive you to and from the track in comfort, the Type S is fantastic. I think it's the best front-wheel drive car you can purchase right now. A lot of people love the Elantra N. We were talking about this earlier, but for, you know, $15,000 less, maybe $20,000 less, yes, the Elantra N is a steal. You get a lot of the same experience as a Type R and Type S, but at a much lower price point. However, you also get a much worse interior, a much worse transmission feel. You get what you pay for.
You do. It's like, it gives you a lot of the performance, but it doesn't give you the same gratification just driving it. The steering doesn't give me as much feedback. Like, I just don't have as much fun as I do with this.
The Elantra N has to be driven really hard for you to appreciate it. At low speed, it's actually quite a pain.
On a track, or even like a really nice back road that doesn't have, you know, people's driveways off of it where you can kind of hoon it, it's great. It's very sharp, sharper than the GR even.
I completely agree with that.
But yeah, this just kind of in a different world, as you would hope, for $53,000.
I mean, it's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. When I first bought this car, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I paying this type of money for a front-wheel drive glorified Civic when I could be purchasing something like a used M2 Competition, a really great condition Camaro SS1LE, maybe even have money left over. But at the end of the day, I wanted the practicality of this car. I can fit easily a set of 4 wheels and 4 tires that are not mounted to the wheels. Yeah, so this car has a lot of space, and the back seat legroom is actually quite large as well, a lot bigger than that of the GR Corolla. The more I kind of get older, the more I appreciate kind of the creature comforts and the practicality aspect. So yes, would I rather be tracking a rear-wheel drive V8 or turbo inline-6 car? Yes, but I'm not that far off in terms of lap time with my family hatch.
No, you were catching GT3s. After ownership, what would you like to see improved?
Give me the damn memory seats. Why did you take it out of the A-Spec and give me this piece of plastic? Because these seats are objectively worse at performance driving, at holding you in, compared to the Type R seats. Almost everyone I know who has a Type S wishes it had the Type R seats, right? I've also strongly considered swapping the Type R seats into this, but didn't, because I would really not want red seats in this car. I'd probably have to reupholster them. Didn't want to spend that kind of money. Honestly, I don't have a lot of complaints with it. Even this infotainment thing works perfectly well. I use my wired Android Auto every single time I drive the car. It's maybe had 3 hiccups in the 8,200 miles I've driven it. Okay, here is one major complaint: overheating. On the track, if you're driving in 75 Fahrenheit weather or above, if you're really pushing the car for about 15 minutes, you'll see this temperature, the coolant gauge, creep up 1 tick. Normally it stays at 4 out of 10. It'll go up to 5. And then I've seen it even go up to 6. That was driving in 95-degree weather. And at that point, you will lose power, and you're not going to be able to set any PBs. So that's something that the FK8 Civic Type R, the last gen, had issues with. The new Type R and the Type S are definitely better in terms of cooling capacity. But if you're a serious track day goer, it's still going to be a problem. I know there are some ways around it. You can install like an aftermarket radiator and such. But out of the box, it's really not that great.
I'd also like to add one quirk. Despite this being a high-performance vehicle, you have to do a pedal dance in order to completely disable the stability and traction control.
I can't think of anything else. Frankly, I'm really happy with this car. I never thought I'd say that about a front-wheel drive car, but this is actually a car I can see myself keeping for maybe 2 to 3 more years.
Hey, that's big in a business like this. That's
Yeah,
huge.
right? I say that, I mean, 2 months later, I'll probably be in something else.
Well, thank you for taking your time
absolutely.
away from the track to do this.
Hell yeah.
All right. Now it's time to digest this front-wheel drive fantasy on my way to Los Angeles to film with the last 2 cars. The Integra Type S is the best sport compact. Outside of all-weather traction, it does everything well, including driver engagement. If you're sick of looking at all of these options and thinking, oh, it's great, but it's too dull, or the interior's too cheap, it's too small, it's too basic, it's too complex, it's too red, then I'd say the Acura is for you unless it's too expensive. And if it's way too expensive, at least there's another well-rounded option for you to consider that doesn't sacrifice performance. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and hit the bell to catch the rest of the series, and thank you to my channel members and supporters who've made this possible. I'll catch you in the next one. Wait. Who are you? Is really worth $53,000.
You lost the mic again.
No!